Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. We've combed through this past week's most exciting, intriguing, and informative happenings, and I'm stoked to get started. So without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Greetings, cosmic enthusiasts. Justin here, your guide to the mind-bending realm of the unknown. Welcome to the UAP Society's weekly UAP UFO news, your ticket to an interstellar adventure like no other. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, get ready for a cosmic roller coaster ride through the latest updates from the far reaches of the galaxy.
You're in for a treat as we bring you a special holiday edition broadcast. Yep. So grab your hot cocoa, get nice and comfy, and get ready to go on a galactic ride with us. Right on, let's jump right in. First story I want to start with is super cute. I'm an animal lover, always have been, always will be. So I hope you guys are too, because this one involves a cat. So NASA sends the first ever Ultra HD video to Earth from deep space of a cat chasing a laser using a laser.
Jeez. Sounds like a mouthful.
Right? This ultra high definition video was streamed via laser by NASA's Deep Space Optical Communications, or DSOC, experiment on December 11th, 2023, a historic first. The video was inspired by the first television test broadcast of Felix the Cat back in 1928 and the influence that cats had on popular culture. Coincidentally, cats like to chase lasers. Oh, the irony. Let's take a look. Super cute.
Super cute. You gotta love cats.
Who doesn't love watching a cat chase a laser? I'm sorry, but it's just like adorbs.
Hours and hours of entertainment.
I know, right? So on NASA's website, though, they give us more information about this event and the details of it. So let's check that out.
This cheat sheet shows an annotated screenshot from the first ultra-high definition video streamed from deep space via a laser. NASA's Deep Space Optical Communications experiment aboard the recently launched Psyche spacecraft sent the 15-second video, which features an orange tabby cat named Taters chasing a red laser, back to Earth on December 11th, 2023.
The graphics overlaying the still from the video illustrate several elements related to the DSOC technology demonstration, such as Psyche's orbital path, the telescope dome at Caltech's Palomar Observatory, and the technical information about the laser and its data bitrate. The heart rate, color, and breed of the star of the video, who lives with an employee of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, is on display as well. Each element of the graphic is numbered, and a color-coded numerical key is provided below the image.
The video was transmitted from nearly 19 million miles, 31 million kilometers away. Wow.
That's a long distance.
Yeah, that's pretty far. The signal took about 101 seconds to reach Earth. The video was sent at the system's maximum bit rate of 267 megabits per second. Capable of sending and receiving near-infrared signals, DSOC's flight laser transceiver, a cutting-edge instrument aboard Psyche, beamed an encoded near-infrared laser to the Hal telescope in Palomar in San Diego County, California, where it was downloaded. Each frame of the looping video was then sent live to JPL, where the video was played in real time.
And something I just want to point out that I find to be the most cutest feature of this whole thing is number 14 down here, because not only do we get to see Taters chasing around this laser looking so freaking adorable, but we get another view of Taters with this one. Like when you watch the video, if you pay attention to this bottom right corner over here, you get a whole nother view of him. It's like two different views. So I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was cute. And from Twitter, user Starman says, humans send a cat video chasing a laser with a laser in deep space. Interesting. We think so too. Thanks, Starman. Moving on to our next story. December 16th was the 6th anniversary of the New York Times UFO report. And this thing, when it came out, was a game changer catalyst for this whole entire thing. This was huge, okay? Huge.
All right, so back in 2017, the New York Times released a groundbreaking article titled Glowing Auras and Black Money, the Pentagon's Mysterious UFO Program, by Helene Cooper, Ralph Blumenthal, and Leslie Kean. This article caused quite the stir by calling out the Pentagon and their never before acknowledged Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program ran by none other than Lou Elizondo.
Yeah, so I feel like this is just cool to acknowledge because like I already said, I feel like this was a groundbreaking thing that came out and acted as like a huge catalyst for this whole ball to like roll down the hill again and
get going.
Right. I feel like this article caused like a huge snowball effect. It started rolling down the hill and collecting more snow and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I thought that it was really cool to mention. And then I know that it's also the catalyst for many of people's spiritual awakenings, many of people's introduction to taking this phenomenon seriously. I mean, before there were so many naysayers that just kind of like shoo-shooed and poo-pooed this whole thing away. But then when the New York Times came out with the article, they were like, oh, snap, maybe I should take this more serious. Yeah,
I really feel like this article went a long way to reducing the stigma, which is super important to getting people to take the UFO UAP phenomena seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the stigma is not a joke. Like it's present in every single arena of this phenomenon. It's present amongst common folks. It's present amongst the military. It's present among the scientists. It's present among anybody that has their hands in this.
Right. I mean, pilots are scared to come forward and tell what they've seen for the simple fact of getting ridiculed or losing their medical clearance to fly. You know, I mean, it's super harmful to these people, you know, that spend their whole careers, you know, potentially seeing objects and not coming forward or not talking about it, not telling people. You know, that must weigh heavily on their hearts, you know?
Right. I mean, I can even piggyback on what you just said and say that when pilots are out and about doing training missions or whatever and come across UFOs or orbs or whatever they see, you know, they'll call it in to their people. And then when they get back to base, the people are like, yo, bro, are you sure you want to report this? And then, of course, they backtrack and say, well, all right, maybe I just won't.
Yeah.
Because they're so afraid, like you said, that as soon as they do, they're going to get looked at as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and they're going to lose their clearances. They're going to lose their careers. Essentially, it's like sticking a nail in your career coffin if you say these kinds of things. But it's a reality, and it shouldn't be shunned. It should be spoken about freely. It should be accepted widely. And yeah, I'm just like, I still can't believe that the stigma is so present even in 2023. But I'm glad to say that, like you said before, it's dissipating.
Right. I really believe that it's come a long way. You know, the stigma reduction has come a long way since 2017. Do we still have it today? Sure.
Of course.
But it's not as prevalent. You know, it's not as damning to these people to come forward and say that they've seen something. You know, just because you see something in the sky that you don't know what it is, it doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you unfit to fly.
Right.
You know, in
means
fact,
there's something there.
Somebody come forward and say what they've seen. I would trust that person more than I would trust somebody, you know, who.
And you know, speaking about this whole thing, I mean, how many times do you think that that's even happened? How many times do you think that there's been a sighting that went unreported due to this enigma of the whole, you know? I mean, I just think that there's probably I don't know. I'm scared to even try to put a number to it because I feel like it's probably a lot.
10% of the pilots that have seen something are probably the ones that report it. You know, there's probably 90%.
And that's a small number. Yeah. If there's 90% of the pilots that experience this phenomenon or witness it, especially if it's present on their equipment, if it's on the radar, if it's being picked up by some signal, if the equipment inside the planes are reading this anomaly, you know, oh my gosh, it's just so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so important. Like, it's one thing for somebody to say, I saw it with my own eyes, but it's another thing if your technology backs it up with a digital fingerprint,
gun camera footage, you know,
FLIR radar,
infrared
cameras, you know, all that.
Right. Next up, The Hill covers a story on Tim Gallaudet, who says UFOs are the story of the century. Wake up, America. For those of you unfamiliar, Tim is a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral, an oceanographer, and he was also the director of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration until 2019.
He also participated in the Soul Foundation's recent conference at Stanford University with other familiar faces such as Dr. Gary Nolan, Christopher Mellon, Dr. Avi Loeb, who we'll talk about later, Leslie Kean, who we talked about earlier. Let's take a look at the clip.
Has the government been hiding the truth about aliens? In a recent interview with NewsNation, retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Tim Gallaudet said it was time to come clean. Let's take a listen.
I think it's about time that we do disclose that we are in contact with non-human intelligence. That's what needs to be put out there in the public.
In the recent National Defense Authorization Act that was signed last week, a half-page amendment written by Republican Senator Tim Burchett that would force the Department of Defense to declassify records relating to publicly known sightings passed, but Congress granted the government authority to remove information relating to UFOs from official records if it could feasibly harm national security. The executive branch has up to 25 years within a record's creation to make it public. The bill's passage comes as an increasing number of former defense officials are pushing for more transparency regarding UFOs.
Including that Rear Admiral that we just heard from, saying that he thinks the government has been in contact with extraterrestrial life, and that is exactly the kind of thing we want the government to declassify that information. But as I've said when we've talked about this previously, I have no faith that this is what we'll get, even if the Tim Burchett version passed, because any national security exception is going to result in them redacting wide swaths of information pertinent to this subject, as we've seen on every other subject, as we've seen on the JFK assassination files, as we've seen on the COVID origins, ordered bipartisan fashion by President Biden to declassify what we know about COVID origins, what has caused our various intelligence agencies to reach different conclusions about COVID origins. We want to know. Instead, they put out a brief summary of information that is absolutely, totally public already. So national security is the blank check for the government to deny, to equivocate, to thwart independent efforts to learn information. And anyone who has experienced filing Freedom of Information Act requests at any level, local, state, federal, knows that they make the process as difficult as possible. They, work within the letter and spirit of the law to make it as difficult as possible. You'll get back pages and pages of documents. Sometimes you get back too many documents to make sense of any of them. Here's a stack of papers, 99.9% of which are irrelevant to your search criteria, to your query, to make it harder for you to sift through the information. And then you go through things that are just black lines over everything. It's a huge
the people that want this information to stay behind closed doors are very good at keeping this information hidden.
Mm-hmm. They sure are. And another quote that we have from Tim Gallaudet is that we're being visited by non-human intelligence with technology we really don't understand and with intentions we don't understand either.
I mean, all these super credible people keep coming forward, I mean, we have Lou Elizondo, we have Dave Grush, we have Tim Gallaudet, we have all the other people.
David Fravor, Ryan Graves.
I mean, super credible people coming forward, that were high up in the military. And now, they're coming forward saying that there's something there. And we need to find out what that is.
And the government is digging their heels in the sand and trying to make like there is no there. But we all know that there is no other reason for them to fight back against this so hard unless there is a there.
Exactly.
Right.
What is it that they're trying to keep secret?
Well, we know.
I mean, we think we know.
Yeah, that's true. We don't really know, but I'm saying I feel like we know enough that the writing's on the wall, so to speak.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And let's take another look at a longer clip from when Ross Coulthart also spoke to Tim Gallaudet.
I mean, you're probably one of the more highly cleared public officials from the military, past serving, who's basically come out publicly and said, you think this is real. Why do you think there is this cover-up? What are they concealing?
I think it's about time that we do disclose that we are in contact with non-human intelligence. That's what needs to be put out there in the public.
Exactly. And I'm so glad these whistleblowers are coming forward and saying these things, because it needs to be said and it needs to be acted upon.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Also, For those of you that are watching this that have not watched Chris Lato's interview,
Yes, I was going to say
Tim
that.
Gallaudet, I highly recommend going on over to the sister channel to the UAP Society, Lato Files,
Yep.
and looking for that great, awesome, wonderful interview that Chris did with Tim Gallaudet.
Yeah, I think it's really cool when Chris gets a chance to speak with fellow military men, because I feel like there's like a rapport, a bond there to where they like have a very easy time speaking to each other, because I feel like they can relate to each other, and when you can relate to somebody, it's easier to speak to them. So shout out to Chris Lato and his interview. Go check that out on that page. And needless to say, you know, all these guys are pushing for government transparency, and I'm here for it.
Right.
Speaking of military men, up next, we have retired Navy Chief Sean Cahill, and he gives his opinion on the ongoing shenanigans in Congress regarding UAPs. I'll let him say it himself. Just listen real quick.
Retired U.S. Navy Chief Sean Cahill, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Well, Sean, I know that you say that UFOs exist, but I got to ask you, where is the hard evidence?
Well, the hard evidence is unfortunately still locked up in special access programs and in the archives of probably various aerospace companies in the United States. We're not privy to it as the public yet. But as we've seen by the work of Mr. Grush and those who have testified in front of Congress, there's definitely something there.
Well, this week we also know that Senator Chuck Schumer wanted a UFO commission to disclose records. Representative Burchett wanted DOD to release what it knew. What do you make of this 25-year parameter?
I think it's a very long period of time, but given the subject matter and given that there may be paradigm shifting information in that subject matter for the American public, I understand the government's reticence to immediately release it. I'm concerned more about the partisan pushback that seems to be coming on that amendment, though.
We also know that whistleblower David Grush has called the watered-down version of the bill the greatest legislative failure in American history. Do you believe that to be true?
I unfortunately have to agree with Mr. Grush. While it is a historical achievement, it was neutered when it didn't need to be. And I think that a lot of people have shown their hands by that neutering.
Why is it, do you think, that the government has kept quiet about UAPs from the American people?
I think, unfortunately, we're dealing with a set of ignorance post-World War II, possibly, and the feeling of needing to stay in power, and then a subject that just kind of got outside the bounds of a lot of people's understanding. I think that it's going to require a modern mindset and our modern understanding of science to really wrap our heads around this.
Very well said.
Very, very well said. And there's two things that I want to speak on from this video. First up is the whole point that he makes about when she asks him, you know, why do you think this is happening? And he said that the government has a post-war mindset. World War II ended 1945. Roswell happened 2 years later, 1947. It's understandable that the government was like, oh, if this is some sort of technology, we got to keep it to ourselves, because they were still in that us versus them mindset. They were still in that like, well, if this isn't ours, then it must be the enemy's. And that makes sense as to why they would like hoard all this stuff and keep it secret and keep it under lock and key. But what doesn't make sense is that they're still to this day keeping that lie alive.
Right.
I really feel like I totally agree with Sean Cahill in the sense that they're still in that mindset. Or if they're not in that mindset anymore, they're still covering their tracks from being in that mindset.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's ingrained, you know, into these people, you know, to never talk about what they've been read into. Right. I mean, the secrecy surrounding the UFO UAP phenomena is absolutely mind-boggling.
Right. And the other point that I wanted to make is that they were talking about how the government can take up to 25 years to release this information as long as it doesn't like clash with national security. But
I'm sure somebody will come forward and say.
First of all, they're always going to say it's national security issue, so they don't have to tell us nothing. But what the point that I was going to make is that it's not their right to say that, because this phenomenon has been going on since the beginning of time. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's how this whole thing started. I mean, I don't think this is a brand new subject. The first UFO just popped into existence in 1947. Or even if we go back to the 1933 Italy case, that's not the first one either.
Right.
I mean, there has been cave drawings, depictions in stone. If you talk to the indigenous people, they speak of their star family. I mean, this phenomenon goes way, way back.
How does the government think that they have a right to classify reality?
Oop, you just quoted Ryan Graves. I love it. The government does not have a right to classify reality. Amen to that. Good job.
Or
High
the
five.
skies. All right, guys. Top secret UFO, UAP, nuclear war documents revealed and reviewed on the Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford and guest UFO researcher Sean Rash.
Let's take a look.
Right. So I thought it was interesting because several phenomena, we hear that too from Aero, right? That it's Aero, sure, but they say that several phenomena are in fact probably, the cause for some of these incidents. So that's another thing that they've known for this long. The whole point of these documents is to really prove how long they've been aware of this. This isn't since Aero or since Lou Elizondo came out. This has been plaguing the military since 52. Otherwise, they wouldn't stand up a new office and spend a bunch of taxpayer money to really just give us the same answers as they had in 1952. It's kind of asinine when you think about it. So, I mean, and obviously that's not the case. There's something going on that they don't want us to know.
Yeah, that's. If there's one thing we've learned, they're really good at lying to the public, lying to Congress, and probably lying to presidents. It's a feature, not a bug, with the CIA and others.
I like how I said that. It's a feature, not a bug.
I know, it's just part of the program that we're going to get lied to and fed BS on a spoon and told that it's cornflakes and candy.
Yeah.
I just made myself laugh.
That's good.
Okay, so reviewing nuclear war documents from 1952. I mean, again, this just proves the point that we made earlier, just before, that this stuff's been going on for a long time. They're not telling us the truth about it, and they need to. The time to come clean is now.
I agree.
Keeping with the theme, we have another military guy to talk about, Colonel John Alexander, who appeared on the Weaponized podcast with none other than Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. And what's their saying? Go, UFO. In the past, Colonel John Alexander investigated UFOs from inside the Department of Defense while leading a program called ATP, or the Advanced Theoretical Physics Program. Since they ultimately didn't find anything, Colonel John Alexander was pretty skeptical of the existence of UFO crash retrieval / reverse engineering programs. He's known for leading special forces teams in Vietnam, being involved in remote viewing programs through the U.S. Army, leading non-lethal weapons research at Los Alamos Lab, and hanging out with the Skinwalker Ranch's Robert Bigelow through his association with NIDS, or the National Institute for Discovery of Science. More recently, he attended the Seoul Conference, as mentioned earlier. Let's watch this clip to hear how his stance on the crashed saucers situation has changed over time and how consciousness is the key to this whole phenomenon.
So what you're saying, what we know about UFOs is that UFOs as physical, tangible craft are just one part of a much kind of larger issue. Is that what you're saying we know?
Absolutely. It's far broader than that. And I will suggest that consciousness is the key piece of it. Now, there are a lot of people who are willing to deal with little tin cans, that narrow physical arena, but when you get into the broad issues of consciousness and maybe even the nature of the universe, you mentioned back to Max Planck saying, you cannot get behind consciousness, and then we're into issues such as the physical universe arises material from consciousness as opposed to consciousness is something that's generated in your mind. Wow, you're in areas that are just terribly complex. Well, what I also said at the end of the book, though, was that we're not at the point, in my view, and this is still true, of even knowing where to ask the right questions, let alone come up with simple answers. I don't think there are going to be any.
Consciousness is key.
Say it again for the people in the back. It's not just nuts and bolts, you guys. It's way more than that. This is such a complex, multifaceted phenomenon. I don't even know if we really have the ability to wrap our human 3D brains around this, to be honest.
Think we do.
I think this is so big and complex that like we literally can't even comprehend it. I don't know. I really appreciate that he said that consciousness is key, because a lot of people even that join the UAP Society Discord server approach this from a very, very nuts and bolts, physical matter only type of thing. If you mention anything about consciousness, they're like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, it's part of the program. You need to.
Yeah, see, that goes right along with what Donald Hoffman has been preaching for a number of years, and saying that consciousness is the base to which the rest of our reality is based off of, right? So it's super interesting. I mean, scientists don't even know what consciousness is yet.
Right.
You know,
that part.
Right. So, I mean, it's all possibilities are open.
Right. I mean, a lot of people think that our brain is the source of consciousness, that consciousness comes from the brain out. But what a lot of other people are saying is that that's not the case, that our brain is just a receiver, and consciousness is what's running this whole entire everything. Consciousness is the signal. We are just the receiver of the signal. And this also relates to what we hear in NDE stories, because, you know, we learn that when the physical vessel dies or stops operating, the signal still exists. Just because the TV is broken doesn't mean the signal isn't coming in anymore. It just means that the TV is no longer able to receive it. So we exist on a much bigger plane than what most people think or care to believe.
Yeah. Drop us a comment down below and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, please. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Right. We try to read all the comments.
All right, guys. Remember last week we said that we wanted you to start a shift storm?
I do.
Okay. Well, this week, Roderick Martin, host of High Strangeness on Forbidden Knowledge YouTube channel, interviews Dr. Stephen Bassett from website paradigmresearchgroup.org and talks about what disclosure really means. Let's watch a clip.
Disclosure is an event that is going to encapsulate the entire human race overnight.
Okay.
It is absolutely it is nonpartisan. It is transcendent. The ET reality in this issue transcends politics, religion, finance, race, creed, color, all that stuff. It transcends it. It's almost transcendent, like a religious doctrine might be transcended, but it's not a religion. Okay. It's just transcendent. So you don't want to approach it from any what I would call defined angle. You have to get above it and kind of see the whole thing.
Got to get above it and see the whole thing.
So it's obvious why he's so passionate about this subject, so much so that he's calling for a shift storm. It's because he believes that this transcends all of the human things that we like to quarrel over, like race, creed, color, whether you're on the west side or the east side of the borderline, whether you're on the north side or the black side. You know, it's like, it's something that really has the ability, in my opinion, and this is my opinion and my opinion alone, that it has the ability to unite all of mankind. I know that sounds so hippie, woo-woo, kumbaya, but it's true. I mean, if there really is a whole ET, world out there that we're non-privy to because the government keeps lying to us, I mean, I don't see how that can't bring people together. Like, if you can't rise above the petty little things that we bicker over all the time, knowing that there's a whole nother species that's intelligent out there, I mean, come on, people.
Right. We got to come together on this, you know? I mean, this is the one planet that we have, you know, and there's too many people that are pitted against each other for stupid issues. You know, I mean, like, the biggest issue is an imaginary line drawn, you know, in the sand, so to speak, right? Right. You know, because you live over there and I live over here, you know, now we're enemies. We have to compete for resources, you know, and it shouldn't be like that.
Right, right. And I feel like religion also plays a huge part in that, because, you know, if it's not our way, then it's wrong. Yeah. And that there's been so many religious crusades throughout the years that have killed masses of people. I just feel like it's time for us to rise above the duality, rise above the polarity, and unite and realize we're literally all
the same.
One.
Right. Everybody is literally the same. We're all just trying to figure it out as we go. You know? And I mean,
Like
I mean,
Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a world where everybody was tolerant, of each other? And, I mean, it would, I don't know.
I mean, you're reminding me of my favorite mantra that I learned in yoga, which is Loka Samhasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which is a Sanskrit phrase that translates to, may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way towards that happiness and freedom for all.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the future. I really hope that we can get our stuff together and come together and unite.
Amen to that.
That would be amazing if we could really do that.
Yes.
The final story that we have for you is Dr. Avi Loeb and Chris Cuomo talk about the NHI existence and anti-Semitism.
At Harvard University, Dr. Avi Loeb is a professor of science and the director for the Institute of Theory and Computation. He is also an astronomer and was recently at the Soul Foundation conference. In this next clip, he shares an uplifting message of what we could learn from an alien messiah. Hear him out.
Yeah.
But let me propose an uplifting message, something that is a little bit more encouraging. In my scientific research, I'm really searching for a partner beyond Earth, like finding someone out there, another civilization that would inspire us to do better. Because this is the whole message of the Messianic age. The Messiah is supposed to bring peace on Earth. And I don't think that it's likely that the Messiah will come from Brooklyn, the way some Orthodox Jews believe in. I think the Messiah will arrive from another planet, exoplanet. And the message would be, stop fighting on the territories, on the surface of this rock that was left over from the formation of the sun, because there is much more real estate out there that you can go to explore space. We are spending $2 trillion every year on military budgets worldwide, trying to kill each other. And if we were to decide to change priorities as a result of a wake-up call from a partner out there, then we could, and we would use $2 trillion a year for space exploration. We could send a CubeSat towards every star in the Milky Way galaxy within this century, billions of them. And so it's just a matter of priorities. And I think that once we show willingness to stop fighting each other and working together, someone from outside will say, okay, now you are really behaving like an intelligent civilization. Before that, I thought that you are, just part of nature.
I love that.
Yeah. Who is it that says that we're not even a level 1 civilization yet?
Oh,
is that Dr. Greer?
No, Dr. Michio Kaku.
Oh, okay, cool.
I really love listening to Avi Loeb. I always like to watch all of his interviews that he does, and he always has a good perspective.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking about a few minutes ago, he reiterated the fact that that the NHI are waiting for us to come together and get our stuff together before they allow us to ascend, so to speak.
Right. If we can't stop fighting, and if we can't unite and work together and come together for the betterment of the planet, come together for the betterment of each other, come together for the benefit of the future generations that have to inherit all of this stuff from us. I mean, I don't know. It's time to kumbaya, guys. I'm going to say it again. Let's get that campfire roaring and let's just sing together or something, because we need some kind of come to Jesus together moment. You know what I mean? And I really feel like if the confirmation is given that NHI exists and we are not the top ranked species of intelligence, I can't see how it wouldn't humble the crap out of everybody.
Right. Yeah. This issue is super humbling. It's super uniting. And I can't wait for the future in which hopefully that is a reality, in which, we do have open communications with, other species, other intelligences, that did not originate on our planet, or maybe they did originate on our planet and we just don't know about them yet, or haven't. Maybe they've been hiding all this time.
There's so many possibilities. There's so many different scenarios that could be the case. And it's time we find out. It's time we find out.
Yeah. I think the first step to finding out is being able to come together as a one species, as humanity, for the betterment of everybody and all this other species on the planet and the planet itself.
Right. And Avi Loeb has a new book out called Interstellar, The Search for Extraterrestrial Life and Our Future in the Stars.
In the New York Times bestseller Extraterrestrial, Avi Loeb, the longest-serving chair of the Harvard's astronomy department, presented a theory that shook the scientific community. Our solar system, Loeb claimed, had likely been visited by a piece of advanced alien technology from a distant star. This provocative and persuasive argument opened millions of minds internationally to the vast possibilities of our universe and the existence of intelligent life beyond Earth. But a crucial question remained. Now that we are aware of the existence of extraterrestrial life, what do we do next? How do we prepare ourselves for interaction with interstellar extraterrestrial civilizations? How can our species become interstellar?
Now, Loeb tackles these questions in a revelatory, powerful call to arms that reimagines the idea of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Dismantling our science fiction-fueled visions of a human and alien life encounter, Interstellar provides a realistic and practical blueprint for how such an interaction might actually occur, resetting our cultural understanding and expectation of what it means to identify an extraterrestrial object. From awe-inspiring searches for the extraterrestrial technology to the heated debate of the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena, Loeb provides a thrilling front-row view to the monumental progress in science and technology currently preparing us for contact. He also lays out the profound implications of becoming or not becoming interstellar in an urgent, eloquent appeal for more proactive engagement with the world beyond ours. He powerfully contends why we must seek out other life forms and, in the process, choose who and what we are within the universe.
Combining cutting-edge science, physics, and philosophy, Interstellar revolutionizes the approach to our search for extraterrestrial life and our preparation for its discovery. In this eye-opening, necessary look at our future, Avi Loeb artfully and expertly raises some of the most important questions facing us as humans, and proves, once again, that scientific curiosity is the key to our survival.
And don't forget, guys, that links to all of these videos and websites are going to be in the description box down below. So make sure to check that out for yourself. This way you can see these things for yourself.
And that's our show for this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And while you're here, make sure to smash that like button, click subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when we drop new content, leave a lovely comment down below, and be sure to share this video with your family and friends to help spread the awareness and raise the collective consciousness.
And don't forget to tune in next week for more fire content from us. We're going to keep this rolling, guys. Make sure you have a happy holidays from our family to yours. Happy holidays. We love you guys so much. We appreciate every single one of you. If you have not yet joined UAP Society Discord server, please do. That invitation link will also be in the video description down below. And don't forget to keep your eyes to the skies. Much
Happy
love,
holidays.
guys.
See you guys next week.
Deuces. We're out.
Everywhere you go, take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again.